You don't get what you deserve, you get what you become. Imagine waking up every day knowing your value is undeniable, that no matter where you go or who you meet, you're the person everyone notices, listens to, and respects. In a world full of distractions and noise, it's easy to get lost in the crowd. But the secret to standing out and making a real impact isn't about luck or chance. It's about making yourself too valuable to be ignored. In this video, we're going to break down the steps you need to take to build your value from the ground up. We'll dive into the practical strategies that will help you build skills, adopt habits, and change your mindset so that you stand out, not just in the workplace, but in every area of your life. You'll learn how to make decisions that position you for success, create an unshakable reputation, and become someone people can't afford to overlook. If you're ready to stop being invisible and start becoming indispensable, stay with me. This is your chance to take control of your future and make yourself too valuable to be ignored. Chapter 1. Destroy weak thinking by questioning your daily choices. You can change your entire life by changing how you think. That's not just something that sounds good. That's something real, and it starts with your daily choices. See, most people don't realize how powerful their everyday decisions are. They go through the day on autopilot, wake up at the last minute, grab their phone, scroll through other people's lives, waste time, eat whatever's easy, avoid what's uncomfortable, and then wonder why their life isn't changing. But the truth is, your life is the way it is because of the way you think, and that thinking shows up in what you choose to do every single day. Now, if you're serious about making yourself too valuable to be ignored, the first thing you've got to do is destroy weak thinking. And you do that by questioning your daily choices. That's the real starting point. Not some big overnight change, not some complicated secret. Just the small, simple act of becoming aware of asking yourself, why am I doing what I'm doing? And is this moving me closer to the life I want or further away? Weak thinking isn't always loud. It's often quiet. It sounds like, I'll do it tomorrow, or I don't feel like it today, or it's not that bad. It sneaks in when you delay a task you know is important. It shows up when you choose comfort over progress. It hides behind distractions that feel harmless but steal your time and energy. That kind of thinking makes people average, and average is not what makes you valuable. It's not what gets you noticed, and it's not what builds a life that matters. If you want to be valuable, really valuable, you've got to start thinking differently. You've got to ask yourself the hard questions. Not just once a month. Every single day. When you wake up, ask yourself, am I waking up with purpose, or am I drifting again? When you eat, ask, is this fueling me or slowing me down? When you work, ask, am I giving my best, or just enough to get by? When you talk to people, ask, am I adding something real, or just going through the motions? Most people never stop to think like this. They assume life just happens. But the truth is, life responds to your patterns. It mirrors what you do consistently. And if you want better results, you have to break the patterns that are holding you back. That takes awareness. That takes honesty. That takes the courage to say, what I've been doing isn't working. It's time to think differently. When I started asking myself better questions, my entire life changed. And it wasn't because someone came and saved me. It wasn't because I suddenly got more talent. It was because I started making better choices. I stopped spending time with people who weren't going anywhere. I stopped wasting time on things that didn't matter. I started reading, learning, planning, executing. I stopped waiting for motivation and just did what I knew I had to do. You can do that too. Right now, You can start questioning what you've been doing. You can take a long, honest look at your routine and ask, is this routine building me into someone valuable, or is it keeping me stuck? And if the answer hurts, good. That pain means you're waking up. It means you're not okay with being average. It means you're ready to rise. People don't get ahead by accident. They get ahead by intention, and intention shows up in your habits. So think about your day. What do you do with the first hour of your morning? What kind of content do you allow into your mind? What kind of people do you spend time around? Do they challenge you, or do they comfort you into staying the same? Every one of those choices is either shaping your future or slowly stealing it. You don't need permission to change. You don't need someone to come and tell you it's your time. You just need to decide that you're done thinking in a way that limits you. Done choosing what's easy. Done living below your potential. Because deep down you know you're capable of more. You can feel it. It's that voice inside that gets loud when you're alone. That feeling of frustration when another day passes and you didn't move forward. That's not weakness. That's your potential screaming at you to stop wasting time. You've got to learn to challenge that voice that says, you're tired, take it easy. You've got to push back when your mind says, skip it just this once. That's the battle. Not with the world, not with your past, but with your own thoughts. That's the real enemy. And if you can win that battle, you can win in every area of life. Start right now. Get serious about what you want your life to look like. Get clear on who you want to become. And then every day, hold your choices up against that vision. Does this choice make me stronger? Does it build my value? Does it help me stand out? If the answer is no, change it. Adjust it. Replace it. Because every small choice becomes a brick in the structure of your future. That's how value is built. Not by doing what's popular. Not by following the crowd. But by living with discipline. By thinking for yourself. By demanding more from your time, your energy, and your mind. Because when you think better, you live better. And when you live better, you become someone who cannot be ignored. You don't get respect by asking for it. You get it by becoming someone worth respecting. You don't get opportunities by waiting. You earn them by showing the world that you're ready and able. And that starts with the thinking you allow into your life. The standard you set. The effort you give. So today, stop coasting. Stop hoping. Stop making the same tired choices. Ask yourself, every hour, if you have to, am I building something valuable right now, or wasting another moment? That one question can change your life. That one shift in thinking can open doors you never thought you'd see. It can pull you out of the background and into the spotlight. But it all starts inside, with how you think, with what you allow, with what you choose. Make your choices count. Make your mindset strong. Make your actions align with your values. Because when you destroy weak thinking, you build a life that can't be overlooked. And once you start living that way, people will notice. Not because you told them to, but because you became too valuable to be ignored. Chapter 2. Upgrade your identity by changing what you tolerate. The truth is, you are not your past. You are not your mistakes. You are not what other people called you, labeled you, or expected from you. You are what you continue to allow. You are what you settle for. You are what you tolerate. And that is exactly where your identity begins to shift, when you stop tolerating the things that weaken you and start demanding more from yourself and your life. Every person walking this earth is living according to what they believe they deserve, and what you tolerate reveals exactly that. Some people tolerate disrespect from others. Some tolerate low standards in health, work, relationships, effort. Some tolerate procrastination, excuses, bad habits. And over time, those small tolerations form the identity they carry. That identity becomes a lens, how they see themselves, how they carry themselves, and what they allow into their world. If you tolerate laziness, you begin to see yourself as someone who just doesn't have energy. If you tolerate poor treatment, you begin to see yourself as someone who doesn't deserve better. If you tolerate mediocrity, you begin to see yourself as someone who can't achieve more. And the scary part is, once you accept those things long enough, you stop even noticing them. They feel normal, and normal is dangerous when you're supposed to grow. So if you want to upgrade your identity, don't wait for some big moment to arrive. Don't wait for people to treat you better. Don't wait for the job, the money, the title. Start by looking at what you allow to exist in your life that should not be there anymore. Start with the quiet things, the things you excuse, the patterns you let slide, the conversations you keep having that drain your energy, the friends who keep pulling you off track, the habits you keep saying you'll fix tomorrow. That's where your transformation begins. A powerful identity isn't something you wake up with. It's something you build with consistency and self-respect. Every time you say, "I won't tolerate this anymore," and you mean it, and you follow it up with action, you step closer to a stronger version of yourself. And it's not about being perfect. It's about choosing not to live beneath who you are capable of being. I've seen people change their entire lives simply by raising their standards, not by adding more to their plate, not by reading 1,000 books, just by refusing to stay where they were. One decision, one solid "I'm done with this," can break years of average. One strong no can set you free from a cycle that's kept you stuck for too long. When you raise what you expect from yourself, something inside you changes. Your body moves differently. Your words carry more weight. Your goals become non-negotiable. You stop asking for permission and start moving like someone who values their own time, energy, and life. That's what it means to upgrade your identity. Not to pretend, not to act like someone else, but to rise into the version of you that has always been waiting under the surface. Most people never get there because they don't challenge what they're used to. They stay close to comfort, close to convenience, close to what doesn't scare them. But you don't grow when you're surrounded by what's easy. You grow when you get honest with yourself and say, "This behavior is not good enough anymore. This mindset is not helping me. This environment is not building me." And then you do the hard thing. You let it go. You move on. You walk away from what no longer matches who you're becoming. There's power in boundaries. There's power in saying, "I won't live like this anymore." And you don't have to shout it to the world. You don't have to post it or prove it to anyone. Just prove it to yourself through your actions. Show up differently. Speak with more strength. Work with more focus. Live with more intention. Because your identity is not what you say, it's what you repeat. Look around at your life and ask yourself, what have I been tolerating that's holding me back? What kind of language do I use with myself that keeps me small? What kind of people do I let stay close, who don't deserve access to my energy? What kind of habits have I protected, even though they bring me nothing but regret? These are not easy questions, but they are necessary if you want to change. And when you start removing those things, something incredible happens. You create space. You create space for clarity. You create space for peace. You create space for discipline. And that space is where you begin to create a new way of living, a new identity, a stronger foundation. This process takes courage. Because the truth is, some of the things you need to let go of are things you've built your identity around. It might be a role you've played in someone's life. It might be a relationship you've outgrown. It might be a routine that's been part of your life for years. And letting go feels like loss. But if something is keeping you from growth, it's already costing you far more than you realize. You owe it to yourself to stop shrinking to fit places you no longer belong. You owe it to yourself to stop settling for behavior that keeps you stuck. Because the version of you that is too valuable to be ignored is not created by staying the same. It's built when you make decisions that reflect your future, not your past. You can't hold on to the old and step into the new at the same time. Something has to break. Something has to be left behind. And the truth is, the people who upgrade their lives are the people who upgrade their standards. They look at how they think, how they speak, how they show up, and they change it. Not just once, but every time they catch themselves falling back into who they used to be. That's what it takes. Constant awareness, constant adjustment. You see, you don't become valuable just by hoping for it. You become valuable by being someone who demands more from themselves than the world demands of them. You become valuable when you say, I am not going to live the rest of my life as a watered-down version of myself. Some people will not understand your decision to grow. They will try to pull you back into old ways. They'll ask why you're being different. They'll say you've changed. And you have. That's the point. You've outgrown the version of yourself that settled for less. You've outgrown the version of yourself that made excuses. You've outgrown the identity that was based on fear instead of intention. Don't let anyone talk you into staying where you've already grown past. Don't let old habits trick you into thinking they're part of your identity. You get to choose who you become. And that choice starts with what you no longer allow. Start cleaning your life. Clean your thoughts. Clean your language. Clean your routines. Clean your relationships. Don't wait for a rock-bottom moment. Don't wait for something to fall apart. Take control now. Upgrade who you are by demanding more of yourself. Every day, not just when it's easy. Being valuable means becoming rare. And rare is not about talent. Rare is about self-respect. Rare is about standards. Rare is about how you carry yourself when no one is watching. That's where real confidence is born. That's where you stop needing validation and start moving with purpose. You don't need applause when you respect your own work. You don't need attention when you're focused on growth. And you don't need comparison when you're busy raising your own bar. Your identity is a reflection of your choices. Change your choices. Change your life. Say no to what brings you no growth. Say yes to what stretches you. Say enough to what drains you. Say never again to what steals your peace. Because every time you make a higher choice, you upgrade your self-image. And every time you upgrade your self-image, you take one step closer to becoming someone this world cannot ignore. You don't need to be perfect to be powerful. You just need to be honest. You just need to decide that who you were is not who you're going to stay. And you need to follow that decision with actions that reflect it. Daily, deliberately, without apology. There is strength inside you waiting to be released. But it will not come out if you keep tolerating the same life. It will not come out if you keep waiting to feel ready. It will not come out if you keep surrounding yourself with what you know is beneath your potential. Step up. Raise your level. Act like someone who values their life enough to protect it. This isn't just about success. It's about freedom. It's about being able to look in the mirror and respect what you see. It's about knowing that you didn't settle, that you stood for something, that you lived with intention, that you refused to stay the same when everything in you was ready to rise. You want to be valuable? Then upgrade the way you live. Upgrade what you allow. Upgrade how you think. That's not just how you change your life. That's how you change who you are. Chapter 3. Reprogram your mind by choosing discomfort over ease. You change your life the moment you stop looking for what's easy and start choosing what makes you grow. And the mind, your mind, is the battlefield. The difference between people who improve and people who stay stuck is not luck or talent. It's the ability to choose discomfort when everything in them wants to stay comfortable. It's the decision to do what's hard because you know ease won't lead you anywhere worth going. Your mind is always listening. It watches your patterns. It responds to repetition. And every time you choose comfort, it learns. It learns that the easiest way is the way you value most. It learns that you don't want to sweat, don't want to stretch, don't want to fail. And eventually, it locks you into that pattern. Your default becomes escape instead of effort, delay instead of discipline, excuses instead of execution. But here's the truth, that programming can be rewritten, that wiring can be changed, but not by theory, not by motivation alone. Only through action. Every time you do something that stretches you, something small inside you breaks, something weak. A piece of resistance, a layer of doubt, a little voice that says, "Don't try," gets quieter, and a new voice gets louder. A voice that says you can handle this. That voice doesn't come from a book. It comes from experience. It comes from showing up again and again, even when the feelings aren't there, even when nobody sees it, even when the results are slow. That voice gets stronger every time you choose discomfort. Discomfort builds resilience. It builds focus. It builds pride. And most importantly, it builds belief. You don't need more information to believe in yourself. You need more proof. And proof only comes from doing the work. From choosing the workout over the couch, from speaking up instead of staying silent, from starting the task when you'd rather scroll your phone, from facing the truth about your habits instead of lying to yourself again. When you start choosing the harder path, your mind adjusts. It starts to believe that you're serious. It starts to align with a new identity. It starts backing you instead of fighting you. You wake up with a new level of clarity. You feel energy where you used to feel fog. You find yourself making better decisions without thinking so hard. That's not magic. That's rewiring. That's the reward of discomfort. It makes you mentally stronger than most people ever become. Most people run from discomfort their whole life. They think ease is happiness. They think rest is fulfillment. They think they're avoiding pain, but they're choosing a different kind of pain. The pain of regret. The pain of wasted time. The pain of being stuck in the same patterns year after year. And the worst part is, that pain grows. It grows when you keep avoiding the hard things. It grows every time you lie to yourself with "I'll do it tomorrow." But the pain of growth, that pain shrinks. It turns into confidence. It turns into pride. It turns into progress. Nobody wants to suffer. That's not the goal. But every meaningful improvement has a cost. You don't get stronger without some soreness. You don't get wiser without some discomfort. You don't build self-respect without facing the parts of yourself you've been hiding. That's the deal. And it's worth it. Because what you gain from leaning into hard things is not just results. It's power. It's ownership. It's a deeper relationship with yourself. And once you know you can choose discomfort, no challenge feels impossible anymore. Reprogramming your mind is about repetition. That's how the brain works. What you repeat, it learns. So if you keep choosing the easy way, that becomes your pattern. If you break that pattern, even a little, the change begins. You start by doing what's difficult on purpose. Wake up earlier than you feel like. Speak truthfully even when it's uncomfortable. Take on tasks that challenge you. Delay gratification when it hurts. That is the work. And yes, it will feel unnatural at first, because the old wiring wants you to stay in your bubble. But the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. Every time you choose the hard way, you teach your mind a new lesson. You teach it that pain is not the enemy, that struggle is not to be feared, that hard work is not punishment. It's proof that you're building a better life, and your mind will thank you for it. Because a strong mind does not come from comfort. It comes from conditioning. You condition it the same way you condition the body, by pushing it, challenging it, demanding more than it wants to give. Discomfort shows you who you really are. It strips away the image, the excuses, the story you tell yourself, and what's left is the truth. That's where real growth begins. You learn your limits, and then you stretch them. You see your fears, and you walk toward them. You face your failures, and you keep going anyway. And slowly, you begin to build a mental toughness that most people never understand. Some people wait for motivation to act, but high performers act until they become motivated. And that's the secret. Don't wait to feel ready. Don't wait for the right mood or moment. Just move. Action creates energy. Movement rewires your thinking. Because the mind doesn't shift through theory. It shifts through effort, through experience, through pushing when it's hard, not just when it's convenient. And when you start doing this every day, the shift becomes permanent. What used to be difficult becomes automatic. What used to scare you becomes normal. What used to drain you begins to fuel you. Because you've built a mind that knows discomfort isn't a threat, it's a tool. It's the path. It's how you separate yourself from everyone who's waiting for things to get easier. Look at your life right now. Where have you been choosing ease? Where have you been avoiding effort? Where have you been telling yourself not today? Because deep down you don't want to feel uncomfortable. That's your starting point. That's the area that needs your attention. Not tomorrow. Now. Don't try to fix everything at once. Pick one thing you've been avoiding, one challenge you've been running from, and face it today. Not for the result, but for the discipline, for the identity, for the change in wiring that comes from facing hard things with courage. Every time you do something difficult and finish it, your confidence rises. You start believing you can handle more. You carry yourself differently. You walk with more certainty. That's not ego. That's earned self-respect. And that's what makes you valuable. That's what makes you strong. Not your comfort, not your skills alone, but your ability to stay consistent when things aren't easy. Your ability to suffer for the right reasons. Your ability to keep going when most people stop. You want to reprogram your mind. Then challenge it every single day. Feed it discipline. Feed it structure. Because your mind becomes what you repeatedly do. Choose to build it strong, not soft. Choose to build it honest, not comfortable. Choose to build it into something you trust. The work will be hard. You will be tired. You will want to quit. But every time you don't, every time you fight through it, you get one step closer to becoming the kind of person that nothing can break. And that is the goal. Not ease, not perfection, but unshakable strength built through choosing what's difficult over what's convenient. That is how you reprogram your mind. That is how you build a life you are proud of. Chapter 4. Reset your habits by controlling your first waking hour. The moment you wake up, you make a decision, even if it doesn't feel like one. And that decision is going to lead your whole day. Whether you're aware of it or not, the way you spend the first hour of your morning is shaping your thoughts, your emotions, and your habits. Most people let the first hour control them instead of taking control of it. They reach for their phone, check messages, scroll through distractions, and start reacting before they've even stood up straight. They give their energy away before they've built it, and then they wonder why the day feels out of control. But when you reset your habits and take ownership of that first hour, you create a rhythm that supports the kind of life you want to build. This is not about being perfect or creating some kind of rigid system. It's about being intentional. It's about understanding that if you don't take control of your morning, someone else will. It might be your phone, your past, your emotions, or even the opinions of others. If you want to upgrade your life, you have to start at the beginning. And the beginning is your waking hour. The first hour is when your mind is the most open. It's when your habits are at their most sensitive. What you choose to do right after waking tells your brain what kind of person you are becoming. If you reach for something meaningful, if you move your body, reflect in silence, write down your goals, drink water, review your priorities, you send a signal to your brain. I am focused, I am serious, I am here to grow. But if you waste that hour on distractions, your brain learns that delay and avoidance are acceptable. It follows the path you give it. Now you don't need to be extreme to change your life. You need to be consistent. Just imagine what would happen if for the next 90 days, the first 60 minutes of your day was spent in silence, with a clear plan, focused attention, and meaningful actions. Imagine how your confidence would grow if the first hour of each day belonged to you, not to chaos, not to your inbox, not to noise, but to your future. That one change would shape everything else. We often think we need to change everything in our life all at once. But change doesn't work that way. Change starts small. It starts with how you wake up. It starts with how you breathe, how you move, what you say to yourself, and what you choose to focus on before the world gets noisy. Because once the day starts rolling, your energy starts being pulled in every direction. But in the first hour, you have a chance to build the momentum you want. If you want a calm day, you need a calm start. If you want a productive day, you need a clear start. If you want to feel strong and confident, you have to begin with actions that reinforce those qualities. This isn't about motivation, it's about responsibility. You can't outsource this part of your life. No one is going to come do it for you. No one is going to hand you structure or discipline. It has to be built, one decision at a time, starting from the moment your eyes open. What happens in that first hour needs to be built around your goals. You're not copying someone else's routine. You're choosing habits that move you forward. Maybe you need quiet time to reflect. Maybe you need physical movement to activate your body. Maybe you need to write, to plan, to read something meaningful, or review your priorities. The exact steps don't matter as much as the fact that they are chosen with clarity, that they align with the kind of person you are becoming, that they are done every single day with purpose. People underestimate the power of the morning because the changes don't happen instantly. But if you track your life over months and years, you'll notice something clear. The people who consistently own their mornings are the ones who get ahead. They think better, they feel better, they manage stress better, they adapt quicker. That's not an accident, that's alignment. When your actions reflect your values, your life starts to organize itself in powerful ways. One of the reasons people struggle with self-discipline is because they wake up and go straight into consumption mode. They flood their mind with other people's voices before they've even checked in with themselves. That's a mistake. You need time with your own mind before you engage with the world. You need space to hear your own thoughts before the opinions of others crowd them out. That's why controlling the first hour is non-negotiable. It is your mental training ground. It's where your mindset is developed. And mindset determines outcome. You can't expect to perform at your best if the first thing you do each day is avoid responsibility. You can't expect peace if your first instinct is noise. You can't expect to feel empowered if your first move is to give your attention to something meaningless. So you reset. You rebuild your relationship with your mornings. You decide with strength that from now on the day begins on your terms. This doesn't mean you won't have rough mornings. You will. There will be days when you feel off. Days when you don't want to get up. Days when motivation is low. But if your first hour habits are solid, those feelings won't control you. You'll have a structure that supports action even when emotions don't. That's the beauty of discipline. It carries you when your feelings don't show up. And it begins with 1 hour of ownership. Here's what I know. If you spend the first hour of your day doing what matters, your day will go better. You'll think clearer. You'll feel more grounded. You'll make stronger decisions. That hour will become a foundation you can trust. A part of your day where you don't compromise. A sacred space where you put yourself first, not out of selfishness, but out of purpose. Because when you lead yourself well, you can show up better for others too. You start by deciding. You decide what kind of person you want to be, and then ask yourself, what does that person do with their first hour? How do they behave? What do they focus on? And then you do that. Not once, every day. Even when it's boring. Even when you're tired. Even when nobody's watching. Because that's what resets your patterns. That's what reclaims your power. You stop reacting and start leading. And that's when things begin to shift. The beauty of controlling your first hour is that you get immediate feedback. You feel better. You feel centered. You feel focused. And that feeling builds momentum. You walk into the rest of your day already having won the first battle, and that's how you win the day. Not through luck, through intention, through structure, through small smart decisions stacked one after another. There's a kind of peace that comes from knowing you did what you said you would do. There's a confidence that grows when you keep promises to yourself, especially when it would have been easy not to. That's what you get when you reset your habits around the first hour. A deeper belief in yourself. A quiet power. A clarity that doesn't come from talking, but from doing. From proving to yourself that you are in charge of your direction. So if you're feeling stuck, scattered, or unsure, go back to the basics. Start with that first hour. Design it. Protect it. Commit to it. Build habits that serve your goals. Do it with focus. Do it without compromise. And do it for long enough that your life starts to shift around it. Because it will. It always does. The habits that happen first are the habits that shape the rest. Make sure yours are building strength, not stealing it. Make sure they serve your future, not just your comfort. Make sure they reflect the version of you that you're working to become. Because you're not just living another day. You're building a legacy, and it starts the moment you wake up.
Chapter 5. Dominate your focus by removing all useless distractions. In today's world, distractions are everywhere. They're constant, they're loud, and they're designed to pull your attention in 1,000 different directions. They come in the form of social media notifications, the endless stream of news, advertisements, and even the people around you demanding your time and energy.
We live in a world that is actively trying to steal your focus, and if you're not careful, you can easily find yourself caught in the trap of reacting to everything that comes your way instead of directing your own attention toward what matters. But here's the truth: if you want to succeed, if you want to make yourself too valuable to be ignored, you have to dominate your focus. You have to take control of where your attention goes. The more control you have over where your focus is, the more power you will have over your life and your outcomes. If you allow your focus to be scattered and pulled in all different directions, you'll find that you get less done, you become more stressed, and you lose a sense of control over your life. On the other hand, when you remove the distractions and dominate your focus, you become unstoppable. Focus is your most powerful asset. It's the tool that will help you unlock your potential. The more you concentrate on your goals, your purpose, and the things that move you forward, the more progress you'll make. But the key to dominating your focus is to eliminate the noise and clutter that stand in your way. And the reality is, distractions come in many forms, not just external ones like your phone or the people around you, but internal distractions like negative thoughts, worries, and doubts. It's about clearing the mental and physical space to allow your mind to focus fully on what you need to accomplish. One of the first things you need to understand is that distractions don't just happen. You allow them. Every time you check your phone, every time you allow yourself to get sucked into the news, every time you let someone pull you off track, you're giving your focus away. You have to take responsibility for where your attention goes. You have to decide that you will not be a passive participant in your own life. Your attention is too valuable to be wasted. And when you recognize that, everything starts to shift. Start by identifying your biggest distractions. What pulls you away from your goals? Is it social media? Is it your inbox? Is it negative people or situations that drain your energy? Identify them and then make a plan to remove or minimize them. You have to decide that your time, your energy, and your focus are precious. Don't let anything take those things away from you. One of the simplest ways to remove distractions is to set boundaries. Boundaries are essential for protecting your focus. Without them, you're constantly at the mercy of whatever is demanding your attention at the moment. This might mean setting specific times when you check your phone or email, or it might mean saying no to things that aren't aligned with your priorities. It's not about being rude or dismissive. It's about being focused and intentional with your time. You have to be ruthless with your boundaries. The more you respect your own boundaries, the more others will too. Another important aspect of dominating your focus is eliminating the internal distractions, the doubts, the fears, the negative self-talk. These distractions can be just as damaging as the external ones. If you're constantly thinking about what could go wrong, or worrying about how others perceive you, or second-guessing your decisions, your focus is fractured. Your mind is not sharp, and you're not able to give your full attention to the task at hand. This kind of mental clutter needs to be cleared as well. To eliminate internal distractions, start by practicing mindfulness. Learn to recognize when your mind is wandering and bring it back to the present moment. Focus on your breathing, on the task at hand, on what you're doing right now. If negative thoughts or worries arise, acknowledge them and then let them go. You don't need to engage with every thought that comes into your head. You have the power to choose what you give attention to. By being mindful of your thoughts, you can train your brain to focus on what really matters. Another effective strategy is to prioritize. Too often, people get caught up in tasks that don't actually move them forward. They fill their days with busy work and distractions, convincing themselves that they're being productive when they're not. If you want to dominate your focus, you need to get clear on what matters most. What are the key things that will help you reach your goals? What tasks will make the biggest difference in your life? and in your business. Focus on those and let the rest go. By prioritizing, you eliminate the distractions that pull you away from your true objectives. In addition to setting boundaries and eliminating internal distractions, consider the environment around you. Your physical space plays a huge role in how well you can focus. If you're working in a cluttered, disorganized environment, it's going to be harder for you to concentrate. Clean up your space. Eliminate unnecessary clutter. Create a workspace that is conducive to focus and productivity. Keep only the tools and resources you need to accomplish your tasks, and get rid of anything that doesn't serve your purpose. Your environment should support your focus, not compete with it. Technology is one of the biggest sources of distraction today, and it's something we all struggle with. The constant pinging of notifications, the temptation to check social media, the endless cycle of emails and messages, it's a drain on your focus and energy. One of the best ways to regain control over your focus is to turn off notifications. It's a simple yet powerful move. When you remove the constant interruptions, you give yourself the space to think, to plan, to work without being pulled in 1,000 directions. But eliminating distractions isn't just about removing the negative things from your life. It's also about replacing them with positive, productive habits. Instead of spending time scrolling through social media, replace that time with something that moves you closer to your goals, whether it's reading, exercising, working on a project, or spending quality time with people who uplift you. You have to consciously choose what to focus on and replace the distractions with things that will help you grow. Dominate your focus by being deliberate. It's about taking control of your time, your energy, and your attention. Don't let distractions rob you of the life you want to create. When you remove the noise, when you clear the clutter, when you protect your time and your focus, you'll find that you can accomplish more in less time. You'll feel more at peace, more confident, and more capable of achieving your goals. The more you practice focus, the better you'll get at it. It's a skill that can be developed, and when you dominate your focus, you dominate your life. You'll be able to move through the world with purpose and intention. You'll achieve more, feel more fulfilled, and ultimately become too valuable to be ignored. So take action today. Identify your distractions, set your boundaries, clean up your environment, prioritize your most important tasks, and most importantly, protect your focus. Make the decision that from now on, your focus will be unshakable. It won't be taken by the distractions, by the noise, or by the things that don't matter. You will focus on what moves you forward, and everything else will fade into the background. This is your life, and you are in control. Dominate your focus, and everything else will fall into place. Chapter 6. Crush excuses by acting before you feel ready. Excuses are the enemy of progress. They are the invisible barriers that stop us from moving forward. They show up in the form of reasons why we can't do something today, why we need to wait for the right time, or why we're not ready. These excuses are nothing more than comfort zones that prevent us from acting on our potential. And you know what? They are not real. They're not facts. They're just stories we tell ourselves to avoid the discomfort of taking action. You've probably heard it before. I'll start tomorrow. I'm not ready yet. Or once I have more time, I'll begin. These are the classic excuses, and they are nothing but a way of avoiding the discomfort that comes with getting started. But here's a fact. If you wait for the perfect moment, the ideal circumstances, or for the feeling of being ready, you're going to be waiting forever. Life doesn't wait for you to be ready. The world doesn't care if you feel prepared, and success certainly doesn't come to those who are sitting on the sidelines, waiting for everything to align perfectly. If you're waiting for everything to feel just right before you take action, you're never going to get anywhere. The truth is, You'll never feel fully ready to do something new, something big, something that pushes you outside of your comfort zone. That's just the way it works. Growth happens in the space where we are uncomfortable. It's in that uncomfortable, uncertain moment that we step into the unknown, and that's where the magic happens. The key to crushing excuses is to act before you feel ready. Do the thing, take the first step, even if you feel scared, uncertain, or unprepared. The more you act before you feel ready, the more you begin to build momentum. Momentum is the force that carries you forward. Once you start moving, you'll find that things get easier. The fear of the unknown will begin to fade. The discomfort of getting started will be replaced by the satisfaction of progress. The hardest part is always the beginning. Once you've made the first move, the rest of the journey becomes much easier. Think about the first time you learned to ride a bike. I'm sure you didn't feel ready. You didn't have all the skills, but you got on the bike anyway. You wobbled, you fell, but eventually you got the hang of it. And what happened? The more you rode, the more confident you became. The initial discomfort and uncertainty faded, and before you knew it, riding a bike became second nature. This is how it works with everything else in life. The first step is always the hardest, but it's the most crucial. You have to push through that fear of not being ready, and take action anyway. The most successful people in the world didn't wait for perfect conditions. They didn't wait until they felt completely prepared or confident. They acted before they felt ready, and they did it over and over again. They took risks, they made mistakes, and they learned from those mistakes. Each time they took action, they got closer to their goal. Each time they acted, they built the skill, the confidence, and the knowledge they needed to succeed. And they did it all without waiting for the perfect moment to arrive. When you act before you feel ready, you stop giving power to your excuses. You stop allowing them to control your decisions. You stop letting fear hold you back. Fear is a natural response to stepping outside of your comfort zone, but it shouldn't control your actions. Fear is a sign that you're about to do something meaningful. It's a sign that you're pushing yourself to grow, so instead of avoiding the fear, embrace it. Act despite it. Use it as fuel to move forward, but acting before you feel ready doesn't mean you rush into things without a plan. It doesn't mean you act impulsively or recklessly. It means that you stop overthinking, stop waiting for the perfect moment, and take that first step. The reality is, you don't need to have everything figured out before you start. Most successful people don't have all the answers. They learn as they go. They figure things out along the way. But the critical difference is that they take action. They don't let their fear, their uncertainty, or their lack of readiness stop them. Another key part of crushing excuses is recognizing that perfection is not the goal. Perfection doesn't exist. No matter how much you plan or prepare, things will never go exactly the way you expect. You'll face challenges, setbacks, and obstacles along the way. But that's okay. That's part of the journey. It's through these challenges that you grow, that you develop new skills, and that you get closer to your goals. The key is to keep going, to keep acting, even when things aren't perfect. One of the biggest lies we tell ourselves is that we need to be ready before we can take action. But the truth is, you don't need to be ready to start. You just need to start. It's in the doing that you gain experience, insight, and growth. When you take action, you create momentum. When you create momentum, you become unstoppable. And the more action you take, the more you'll learn, and the closer you'll get to where you want to be. Think about it. What's holding you back right now? What's the excuse that's keeping you from taking action? Is it fear, lack of time, lack of resources, lack of confidence. Whatever it is, recognize it for what it is, an excuse. It's something that's keeping you stuck in the same place, preventing you from moving forward. But it doesn't have to be that way. You have the power to choose your actions. You have the power to choose whether or not you let excuses control your life. If you want to be successful, you need to act. You need to do the work, even when it's hard, even when you don't feel like it, and even when you don't feel ready. That's how you build the habits of success. That's how you create the life you want. It's in the actions you take today, right now, that will determine where you are tomorrow. So stop waiting, stop making excuses, start acting. The truth is, there will never be a perfect time to do anything. There will never be a time when everything aligns perfectly, and all the conditions are just right. But you can create that perfect time by taking action now. Act before you feel ready, and watch how quickly things start to fall into place. The more you act, the more prepared you will become. The more you act, the less control your excuses will have over you. And the more you act, the closer you will get to your dreams. It's time to crush those excuses. It's time to take action. Don't wait for the right time, because the right time is right now. Every step you take today is a step closer to the person you want to become. Every action you take, even when it's imperfect or uncomfortable, brings you closer to your goals. So what are you waiting for? Step forward, act now, and leave the excuses behind. Your future self will thank you for it. Chapter 7. Interrupt fear by moving directly into hard tasks. Fear is one of the most powerful forces that keeps us from moving forward. It whispers to us in the quiet moments, telling us that we are not capable, that we might fail, or that we should wait for the right moment. Fear paralyzes us, stops us from acting, and holds us back from reaching our potential. But fear at its core is nothing more than a feeling. It is a reaction to the unknown, to the uncertainty of what might happen. It's an emotion that stems from a lack of control. But here's the truth. Fear doesn't have to control you. You don't have to let it dictate your actions or hold you back. One of the most effective ways to deal with fear is not by avoiding it, not by trying to calm it, but by moving directly into it. Instead of waiting for fear to subside, you move toward it. You take on the hardest, most uncomfortable tasks head on. And as you do, you start to see something incredible happen. Fear loses its power over you. It begins to shrink. The more you face the things that scare you, the less intimidating they become. The very act of stepping into fear and tackling difficult tasks is the antidote to the power fear has over you. We all know the feeling of being afraid to start something. It could be a project at work, a conversation you need to have, or even just the thought of stepping into a new environment. Fear tells you that you're not ready, that it's too hard, that it's better to wait. But when you choose to face it head-on, you break its grip on your life. You stop allowing fear to dictate your choices. Instead of running away from the challenge, you run straight into it. You interrupt the cycle of fear with action. The key to overcoming fear is to stop thinking about it and start doing something about it. The longer you think about a task or a situation that intimidates you, the more power you give to fear. You dwell on the worst-case scenarios, on the things that could go wrong, and on the potential for failure. But here's the thing, those worst-case scenarios are usually just that, scenarios. They are stories you've created in your mind. The reality is, the vast majority of the time, things don't turn out as badly as you imagine. In fact, most of the time, you're far more capable than you give yourself credit for. Instead of letting fear keep you stuck, you can choose to take action. You can interrupt the cycle of fear by diving into the most difficult tasks first. You don't wait for the perfect time. You don't wait until you feel ready. You just begin. And in the process, you start to realize that fear is often just a feeling, an uncomfortable but ultimately harmless reaction to uncertainty. Once you push through the initial resistance, the fear dissipates. What once seemed impossible becomes manageable. The challenges that once felt overwhelming now seem like opportunities to grow. Think about the most successful people in the world. Do they wait for the fear to go away before they take action? Of course not. They face their fears every day. They step into the hardest situations, the most difficult tasks, and the most uncomfortable challenges, and they do it with the understanding that fear is simply part of the process. They know that nothing great is ever achieved without some discomfort. The act of moving directly into those hard tasks is what builds their strength, resilience, and confidence. When you choose to act in the face of fear, you show yourself that you are stronger than your emotions. You prove to yourself that you are capable of handling the unknown. Each time you step into fear, you build the mental and emotional muscle that allows you to take on bigger challenges in the future. You develop a mindset that doesn't shy away from difficulty, but instead embraces it as an opportunity to learn and grow. But here's the catch: you have to start small. You don't have to dive into the hardest task first, but you do need to take action. You need to face something that scares you, something that makes you uncomfortable, and push through it. Whether it's a phone call you've been putting off, a difficult conversation, or a project you've been avoiding, the goal is to take that first step. That first step is the one that interrupts the fear. It's the one that shifts your mindset from "I'm afraid" to "I'm doing this." The more you practice this, the easier it becomes. You start to develop a habit of facing your fears head-on. You start to realize that fear is just a feeling, and feelings can't control you unless you let them. When you interrupt fear by moving directly into hard tasks, you stop giving power to the what-ifs. You stop living in the land of possibilities and start living in the world of action. The more you act, the more fear loses its hold on you. It becomes just another emotion, something that you can experience without letting it stop you. The key to interrupting fear is not waiting for it to go away. Fear will always be there, especially when you're about to do something important. But you don't have to wait for the fear to disappear before you take action. The fear may never go away completely, and that's okay. What matters is that you move forward despite it. You take action even when you don't feel confident, even when the odds seem stacked against you. Because here's the truth: the most successful people aren't the ones who never feel afraid. They are the ones who act despite their fear. They move directly into the hard tasks, and in doing so they build the courage and confidence that lead to success. You'll notice that the more you face your fears, the more resilient you become. The tasks that once seemed impossible will start to feel easier. The anxiety you once felt will turn into excitement. What used to paralyze you will now motivate you. The more you act in the face of fear, the more you prove to yourself that you are in control. You take your power back. You stop allowing fear to dictate your decisions, and instead you decide that you are going to do it anyway. Interrupting fear by moving directly into hard tasks isn't just about conquering fear in the moment. It's about building a long-term mindset of resilience. It's about developing the mental strength to face life's challenges head-on, without hesitation. When you choose to face fear, you're not just conquering that one task, you're creating a foundation of courage that will carry you through every challenge life throws your way. So the next time fear shows up, don't run from it. Don't wait for it to go away. Instead, move directly into the hardest task you're facing. Take action, no matter how uncomfortable it may feel. The more you do this, the more you'll realize that fear is not something to be afraid of. It's simply a feeling, one that you can control. And with each step you take into that discomfort, you become stronger, more capable, and more unstoppable. Fear doesn't have to hold you back. You have the power to move through it, to step into the challenges that scare you, and to emerge stronger on the other side. When you interrupt fear by taking action, you show yourself that you are more than capable. You show yourself that nothing is impossible, and that you are ready for whatever comes next. And that's how you become unstoppable. You don't wait for fear to leave. You don't wait for the perfect moment. You take action now, and in doing so you rewrite the rules for your life. Chapter 8. Create inner power by keeping every promise to yourself. There's a powerful, undeniable force that lies within every person, and it's something that can completely transform your life if you learn to harness it. That force is your inner power, and the key to unlocking it lies in keeping every promise you make to yourself. It's a simple principle, yet one of the most challenging to maintain. Promises to others are often easier to keep. We fear letting others down, disappointing those around us, and falling short of expectations. But the promises we make to ourselves are often the ones we let slide, the ones we neglect without consequence. At least that's what we think. When you break a promise to someone else, it creates tension. You might face disappointment from others, or even damage your reputation. But when you break a promise to yourself, the damage is far more insidious. It erodes your self-trust, your confidence, and your sense of personal integrity. Each time you break a promise to yourself, you diminish your inner power just a little bit more, and over time this starts to add up. You may not notice it immediately, but the effects are cumulative. You start to believe that you can't trust yourself, that you can't rely on your own word. Slowly but surely, your inner power fades, leaving you with a sense of powerlessness and self-doubt. On the other hand, when you keep every promise to yourself, you build an unshakable sense of self-respect. You demonstrate to yourself that you are someone who can be trusted. You prove to yourself that your word is law and that you are a person of integrity. Each time you follow through on what you say you're going to do, no matter how small or insignificant the task may seem, you reinforce your inner strength. You start to feel more in control of your life, more capable of achieving what you set out to do. And as you continue this practice, you begin to develop an unwavering belief in your own abilities. The process begins with the small promises. It might be something as simple as getting up 5 minutes earlier in the morning, drinking more water, or sticking to your workout routine. At first, these promises may seem insignificant, but in reality, they are the foundation of your inner power. Keeping these promises builds momentum. You prove to yourself that you can be relied upon, and over time this will spill over into bigger commitments. You start to see yourself differently, more capable, more disciplined, more consistent, and that in turn boosts your confidence and self-esteem. But it doesn't end there. The key is to make sure you're keeping promises that are aligned with your values, your goals, and your vision for the future. The promises you make to yourself should be intentional. They should reflect who you want to become, not just what you want to do. Each promise should be an act of alignment with the person you are striving to be. Whether it's a promise to improve your health, grow your career, or become a better version of yourself, the promises you make should be in service of your highest self. When your promises are aligned with your values, they become a source of motivation. Keeping these promises is not just about self-discipline, it's about honoring your true self and your highest potential. But there will be moments when it gets tough.
There will be days when you don't feel like sticking to your promises, when distractions pull you away from your goals, or when self-doubt creeps in. It's in these moments that your inner power is truly tested. It's easy to keep promises when everything is going well, but it's when things are difficult that your integrity is truly challenged. This is where the real growth happens. When you push through and keep your promise to yourself, even when it's hard, you are strengthening your resolve. You are showing yourself that you can endure, that you can do hard things, and that you are capable of overcoming obstacles. Each time you keep a promise to yourself, no matter how small, you build trust in your own abilities. You prove to yourself that you are someone who can follow through. You prove that you can set a goal and achieve it. This strengthens your sense of self-worth and self-respect. As your trust in yourself grows, your inner power grows. You start to feel more confident, more capable, and more aligned with your true potential. You begin to see that you have control over your life, and that you are the one who shapes your destiny. Keeping promises to yourself also creates consistency in your life. Consistency is one of the most powerful forces for success. When you consistently keep your promises, even the small ones, you develop a routine that supports your growth. You create habits that align with your goals and values. These habits, built on the foundation of your promises, will carry you forward even when motivation fades. Consistency is what gets you through the tough times, what keeps you moving forward when you feel like giving up. It's what turns your goals into reality. There's also a deep sense of satisfaction that comes from knowing that you can rely on yourself. When you keep every promise you make, you create a sense of personal pride. You build a life of integrity, and with it comes the satisfaction of knowing that you are a person of your word. This satisfaction isn't something that comes from external validation, it comes from within. It's a quiet but powerful confidence that grows with each promise you keep. Over time, the more you honor your commitments to yourself, the more you will be able to trust yourself. And trust is the foundation of all great achievements. If you trust yourself, you believe in your abilities. You stop second-guessing your decisions, and you take action with confidence. When you don't trust yourself, you hesitate, you doubt, and you procrastinate. By keeping every promise, you remove doubt from the equation. You develop a deep belief that you can do what you set out to do. When you keep promises to yourself, you also develop a greater sense of responsibility for your life. You no longer make excuses or blame external circumstances for your failures. You take ownership of your actions, your decisions, and your outcomes. This sense of responsibility creates empowerment. You realize that you have control over your life, and that you are the one who determines your success. No one else is responsible for your happiness, your growth, or your achievements. You are. This inner power, created by keeping promises to yourself, extends beyond just personal growth. It affects every area of your life. It affects your relationships, your career, and your health. When you trust yourself, you show up more fully in your relationships. You are more reliable, more present, and more authentic. In your career, you take on challenges with confidence, knowing that you can handle whatever comes your way. You pursue your goals with passion and determination because you believe in your ability to succeed. And in your health, you make choices that align with your well-being because you honor the promise you've made to take care of yourself. Ultimately, keeping every promise to yourself is the foundation of self-mastery. It is the practice that allows you to create the life you truly want. Each promise you keep is a building block in the creation of a life of integrity, confidence, and power. And as you continue this practice, you become the person you always wanted to be,
the person who can trust themselves, who follows through on their commitments, and who takes charge of their destiny. In the end, the most important promise you can make to yourself is that you will keep every promise you make, because in doing so, you unlock your true power and potential. Chapter 9. Reject approval by becoming your own biggest critic. In life, there's a quiet but powerful shift that happens when you decide to stop seeking approval from others. It's a shift that leads to self-mastery, self-discipline, and the ultimate freedom to pursue your true potential. This shift is about rejecting the constant need for validation and embracing the reality that your own judgment is the only one that truly matters. The world has its opinions, its standards, and its expectations. People will always have something to say about how you live, how you perform, or how you show up. But what they think, in the grand scheme of things, doesn't define your success or failure. What truly matters is how you see yourself, how you hold yourself accountable, and how critically you evaluate your own actions. Becoming your own biggest critic is not about self-criticism in a way that weakens you or fills you with doubt. It's about empowering yourself to hold yourself to a higher standard than anyone else could. It's about taking full ownership of your actions and outcomes. This mindset will force you to look at yourself honestly, to address your weaknesses, and to face your flaws head-on. But it will also push you to improve in ways that external praise could never motivate you to. For so long, many people seek approval from others because it feels good. The validation from an outside source can seem like a quick way to boost your confidence and ease the discomfort of self-doubt. But the problem with seeking approval is that it's a never-ending cycle. Once you get one compliment or validation, you find yourself needing more to feel good. It becomes addictive, and you start looking outside yourself for confirmation that you're on the right track. This kind of external dependency creates a dangerous pattern where your sense of self-worth is tied to the opinions of others. And the truth is, the people who praise you today may criticize you tomorrow. External approval is fleeting, and relying on it for your self-esteem is a setup for disappointment. When you reject approval, you free yourself from this cycle. You stop depending on the fluctuating opinions of others to determine your value. Instead, you start to base your self-worth on your own actions and decisions. You no longer need to seek permission to be great, to pursue your goals, or to make bold choices. You become the sole authority on your life. You make decisions that align with your values, not because you're hoping to receive praise or avoid criticism, but because they are true to who you are. But to do this, you must become your own biggest critic. You must develop the ability to evaluate yourself without being harsh or self-sabotaging. Instead, you approach your mistakes and setbacks with the mindset of someone who wants to improve, not someone who wants to wallow in self-pity. Being your own biggest critic means looking at your flaws without judgment, acknowledging where you could have done better, and using those realizations as fuel for growth. It's about taking full responsibility for your actions and outcomes, whether they're positive or negative. Instead of blaming external circumstances or other people for your failures, you focus on what you could have done differently. This accountability is what drives progress. This self-reflection is crucial for personal development. No one else knows your goals, your weaknesses, or your true potential as well as you do. External critics may offer advice, but their perspectives are limited. They don't know the full story. Only you can truly understand what it will take for you to achieve the success you want. So when you become your own biggest critic, you're not just pointing out your flaws, you're setting the stage for your own transformation. You're acknowledging where you're falling short, but you're also recognizing that you are capable of rising above it. The more you critique yourself, the better you will become at identifying your weaknesses and turning them into strengths. This process isn't about perfection, it's about constant improvement. Every time you take a critical look at your actions, you learn something valuable. Whether it's about your work ethic, your habits, or your mindset, you'll start to notice patterns that can be adjusted or improved. The goal isn't to be perfect, it's to be better than you were yesterday. It's about creating a mindset of continuous growth, where you view every challenge as an opportunity to get stronger. This approach also helps you develop resilience. The world is full of distractions, temptations and obstacles that can make it difficult to stay on track. But when you become your own critic, you learn to hold yourself accountable, no matter how difficult the journey gets. You stop seeking permission to act, and instead, you take responsibility for your own choices. If you slip up, you don't make excuses. You don't blame others. You simply look at what went wrong, learn from it, and move forward. One of the most powerful aspects of becoming your own biggest critic is that it strengthens your internal compass. When you stop depending on outside approval to determine your actions, you start to trust yourself more. You begin to trust your own judgment, your own intuition, and your own decision-making process. You stop second-guessing yourself at every turn. You learn to rely on your own sense of right and wrong, your own values, and your own standards. This internal trust is crucial for long-term success because it allows you to make decisions with conviction, even when others might doubt you. The more you reject the need for approval, the more you step into your own power. You stop waiting for permission to live the life you want. You stop living for others' expectations, and you start living for your own. This shift allows you to pursue your dreams with greater clarity and determination. You'll take risks that others might shy away from, because you trust yourself enough to know that failure is simply a stepping stone to success. You'll stop holding yourself back, because you no longer fear judgment or criticism. You'll embrace challenges head-on, knowing that each one is an opportunity to prove to yourself that you are capable of achieving greatness. Becoming your own biggest critic also means that you stop measuring your success by the standards of others. You stop comparing yourself to other people's achievements, and you start measuring your progress by your own standards. You focus on how far you've come, not how you stack up against someone else. This shift in perspective is liberating because it removes the unnecessary pressure of keeping up with others. Instead, you focus on your own path, your own growth, and your own journey. This not only reduces stress, but also gives you the space to thrive in your own way. Ultimately, rejecting approval and becoming your own biggest critic is about stepping into your full potential. It's about understanding that you are the only one responsible for your success. You have the power to shape your own future, and by holding yourself to the highest standards, you set the stage for extraordinary growth. The external world will always offer its opinions, but your true power comes from within. When you trust yourself enough to critique your own actions and make the necessary changes, you open the door to limitless potential. You stop waiting for permission, and you start creating the life you want on your own terms. Chapter 10. Kill laziness by scheduling your day with purpose. Laziness is a silent enemy. It doesn't shout or make itself obvious. Instead, it creeps in, disguised as comfort, temporary relief, or the promise of something better later. The more you allow it to take hold, the more it slowly erodes your potential and steals your time. It's not that you're inherently lazy, but the habits you've built, if left unchecked, turn into chains that hold you back from reaching your full potential. The key to defeating laziness lies in one simple yet profound act: scheduling your day with purpose. This one act can radically transform how you approach life and how you accomplish your goals. When you schedule your day with intention, you take control of your time and energy. You stop letting the day dictate to you how you should feel, what you should do, and where you should focus your attention. Instead, you dictate the terms. You set the agenda, and you execute it with discipline. Every single one of us has the same 24 hours in a day. The question isn't how much time you have, it's what you do with that time. If you leave your day to chance, you will likely fall prey to the forces of laziness, distractions, and procrastination. But when you take the time to structure your day with purpose, something powerful happens. You begin to build momentum. Each task, no matter how small, becomes a step toward a bigger goal. This forward movement keeps you from getting stuck in the cycle of inactivity and wastefulness. It starts with recognizing that time is a resource. Every minute is valuable. You have to shift from the mindset of "I'll get to it later" to "I'll get to it now." Scheduling isn't just about filling up your calendar with tasks. It's about creating a roadmap for your day that directs your focus and guides your actions. When you put purpose into your schedule, you automatically elevate the value of each moment. You no longer squander time on activities that don't align with your goals or aspirations. Now, here's the catch. Your schedule has to be purposeful. It's easy to get caught up in filling up your day with tasks that seem productive on the surface, but when you're truly honest with yourself, they add little to your personal growth or long-term success. Purposeful scheduling is about creating a plan that moves you toward your dreams and ambitions. It's about prioritizing what truly matters and making sure that the most important tasks are at the top of your list. If you spend your day working on tasks that are small or insignificant, you're only delaying your success. But when you take the time to plan out your day with tasks that challenge you, that stretch you, and that bring you closer to your goals, you kill laziness in the process. Purposeful scheduling also helps you fight the tendency to procrastinate. Procrastination is often the result of feeling overwhelmed or uncertain. You know you need to get things done, but you put them off because the task feels too big or too difficult. By scheduling your day with intention, you break down big projects into manageable steps. Instead of staring at a mountain of work and feeling paralyzed, you simply look at the first step and tackle it. This makes it easier to take action, and once you start moving, the rest of the task becomes less daunting. Moreover, scheduling your day with purpose allows you to create a sense of routine and discipline. When you establish a daily schedule that you stick to, you eliminate the guesswork and mental energy spent figuring out what to do next. You stop waiting for motivation to strike and instead rely on the power of habit to push you forward. Your mind knows that at a certain time you'll be working on a specific task. There's no room for indecision or laziness because your schedule dictates your actions. One of the most effective strategies in scheduling your day is to break it into blocks of focused time. Rather than trying to multitask or juggle multiple things at once, dedicate specific time slots to each activity. This practice of time blocking helps you maintain focus and concentration on the task at hand. You are no longer scattered, trying to do everything at once. Instead, you approach each task with laser-like focus, knowing that you have a set period of time to give it your full attention. This prevents the temptation to drift away from what you're doing and jump into other distractions. When you fully commit to one task at a time, you're able to complete it more efficiently, which in turn frees up time for other important tasks. You may be thinking, "But I'm not always productive when I schedule my day." That's perfectly normal. The key to scheduling with purpose isn't about having a perfect track record of productivity. It's about making sure that when you do work, you work with intention and when you rest, you do so intentionally as well. Schedule time for relaxation, but make it a conscious part of your plan. Use it as a reward for getting things done. This way, relaxation isn't an excuse for laziness, but an essential part of a well-balanced, productive life. You might also face the temptation to deviate from your schedule, especially when you start feeling lazy or overwhelmed. The mind has a way of tricking us into thinking that we don't need to stick to the plan, that we deserve a break, or that we're too tired to keep going. But this is where the power of discipline kicks in. When you schedule your day with purpose, you commit to sticking to it, even when it's hard. Every time you follow through, even when you don't feel like it, you reinforce the habit of discipline. Over time, this consistency builds momentum. The more you commit to your schedule, the more you kill laziness, and the more you build a sense of accomplishment and progress. Another critical part of scheduling your day with purpose is reflecting at the end of each day. This is where you can assess whether you followed through on your plan and how effectively you used your time. Reflecting on your day allows you to identify areas for improvement and adjust your schedule moving forward. If you spent too much time on one task or neglected other important things, you can course correct for the next day. This feedback loop keeps you moving forward and prevents laziness from taking root. Scheduling your day with purpose also forces you to be honest with yourself. It requires you to take an honest look at what you're doing and whether it's getting you closer to your goals. If your schedule is full of distractions or non-essential tasks, it's time to reconsider how you're spending your time. Laziness often masquerades as busy work. You might feel like you're doing something productive, but in reality, you're just spinning your wheels. A purposeful schedule allows you to be clear on what's truly important and what isn't. There will be days when you don't feel like following your schedule. There will be days when laziness whispers its soothing promises. But remember, scheduling your day with purpose isn't about perfection, it's about consistency. It's about making the choice to show up for yourself every single day, even when you don't feel like it. The more you show up, the more you kill laziness, and the more momentum you build toward the life you want. By scheduling your day with purpose, you're not just managing time, you're managing your life. You take back control from laziness, distractions, and procrastination. You design each day to move you closer to your goals, and you develop the discipline to execute that plan. It's a simple yet powerful act that can change the course of your life.